Marcus Johnson was tired. The clock on the wall showed it was almost midnight. He had been studying in the college library for 6 hours straight. His mechanical engineering books were heavy in his backpack as he walked out into the dark parking lot. The cool night air felt good on his face after being inside for so long. At 24, Marcus was older than most students at State University. He had a good reason for that. Before college, Marcus had served 4 years in the Marines. He had been to war twice. The military had changed him in many ways. It made him stronger, more focused, and taught him skills most people didn't have. One of those skills was fighting. Marcus had a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. He had started learning it during basic training and kept practicing during his service. The Marines had paid for his advanced classes, seeing how good he was at it. Marcus didn't talk about this much. He didn't need to show off. "Man, I need some coffee," Marcus said to himself as he got into his old blue Honda. The car started with a rumble. Marcus knew a place that stayed open all night. Joe's Diner was at the edge of town, about 10 minutes from campus. They made good food, and the coffee was strong. Exactly what he needed to stay awake. The streets were mostly empty as Marcus drove. This was a small college town. Not much happened after 10 p.m., except on weekends when the bars were full. Tonight was Wednesday, and the town was quiet. Marcus turned onto the highway that led to Joe's Diner. The road was dark except for his headlights and the few street lamps along the way. He thought about the big test coming up on Friday. He felt ready, but still wanted to study more tomorrow. The diner's neon sign came into view in the distance. Marcus could see the bright lights even from far away. As he got closer, he noticed something else. A row of motorcycles was parked outside the diner. Maybe 7 or 8 of them. All big, loud-looking bikes. "Great," Marcus muttered. He knew about the local motorcycle club. They had a bad name in town. People said they caused trouble, sold drugs, and picked fights. Marcus had never run into them before, but he had heard stories. For a moment, Marcus thought about turning around and going home. He was tired, and he didn't want any problems. But he was also hungry, and the diner was the only place open at this hour. "I'm just going to get my coffee and leave," he decided. Marcus pulled into the parking lot and found a spot far from the motorcycles. He turned off the engine and sat for a minute, watching the diner. Through the windows, Marcus could see a group of men in leather vests. They were loud, laughing, and moving around. One of them was standing on a chair. The waitress looked nervous. Marcus sighed. This might be trouble, but he wasn't the kind of person who ran away from things. The Marines had taught him that. Besides, he was hungry, and this was the only place open. He got out of his car and walked toward the diner entrance. As he got closer, he could hear the men more clearly. They were shouting and swearing. Outside the door, 2 more men in leather vests were smoking. They both had beards and tattoos covering their arms. When they saw Marcus approaching, they stopped talking. They stared at him with hard eyes. Marcus kept walking, his face calm. Years of military training had taught him to stay cool in tense situations. "Where do you think you're going?" one of the men asked, stepping into Marcus's path. Marcus stopped. He stood straight, not backing away. His voice was calm when he answered, "Just getting some coffee." The 2 men looked at each other. Then they both smiled, but not in a friendly way. "This isn't your kind of place," the taller one said. "Why don't you turn around and go somewhere else?" Marcus knew what was happening. This wasn't about the diner. This was about him being black in a place these men thought he shouldn't be. He had faced this before. He knew he had a choice to make. Marcus looked at the 2 bikers blocking his way to the diner. He didn't want trouble, but he also didn't want to be pushed around. The Marines had taught him to stand his ground, but also to be smart. "Look," Marcus said calmly, "I just want some coffee. That's all. Then I'll be on my way." The taller biker laughed. He had a thick beard and a scar running down his left cheek. "You don't get it," Do you? We said this isn't your place. Inside the diner, more bikers noticed what was happening outside. 5 of them got up from their table and walked toward the door. Now Marcus was facing 7 men, all bigger than him, all wearing the same leather vests with a skull logo on the back. "What's going on, Dex?" one of the new bikers asked. He was older than the others, with gray in his beard. He seemed to be their leader. "This guy thinks he can just walk in here," the tall one called Dex said. "I told him it's not his kind of place." The leader looked Marcus up and down. His eyes were cold. "You should listen to my friend here. This is our spot on Wednesday nights. Always has been." Marcus noticed other people watching from inside the diner. The waitress behind the counter looked worried. An old man at a booth quickly paid his bill and hurried out the back door. Nobody was going to help. "I don't want any trouble," Marcus repeated. "There's plenty of room in there for everyone." The leader stepped closer to Marcus. He smelled like beer and cigarettes. "Maybe you're not hearing us clearly. Get lost." Marcus took a deep breath. In his mind, he went through his options. He could walk away. That would be the easiest thing to do. But something inside him wouldn't let him. This wasn't right, and he knew it. "I have as much right to be here as you do," Marcus said, keeping his voice steady. The bikers all laughed. The sound was mean, like they thought Marcus was a joke. The leader's smile disappeared. "Rights? Let me tell you about rights," he growled. "This is our territory. We decide who comes and goes here." One of the other bikers, a man with tattoos covering his neck, moved to Marcus's right side. Another went to his left. They were surrounding him. Marcus noticed this but didn't show any fear. He had been in worse situations overseas. "Last chance," the leader said. "Turn around and walk away, or things get ugly." Inside, Marcus felt his heart beating faster, not from fear, but from getting ready. His body knew what might happen next. His mind stayed calm, remembering his training. "I just want some coffee," Marcus said again. "That's all." The leader nodded to the others. "Teach him a lesson. Nothing too bad. Just enough so he remembers to listen next time." Dex moved first. He reached out to grab Marcus by the shirt. It was a mistake. Before his hand touched the fabric, Marcus moved. It was like watching water flow. Fast but smooth. He stepped to the side and caught Dex's arm. With a simple twist, he turned the bigger man's force against him. Dex found himself suddenly off balance. His eyes went wide with surprise. He had expected Marcus to be scared or to fight back wildly. He wasn't ready for this calm, controlled movement. The other bikers froze, watching with shock as their friend stumbled forward, trying not to fall. "What the hell?" the tattooed biker said. His hand moved toward his pocket. Marcus saw this and knew the man might have a knife. Things were getting dangerous fast. He needed to take control of the situation before someone got seriously hurt. "I'm going to say this one more time," Marcus said, his voice still calm but firm. "I just want some coffee. I don't want to fight anyone." The leader's eyes narrowed. He seemed confused by Marcus's confidence. Most people would be scared facing 7 angry bikers. But this young man wasn't backing down. "Who are you?" the leader asked, with a hint of caution in his voice now. Marcus didn't answer. He just stood there, ready for whatever came next. His stance was relaxed but balanced. His hands were open at his sides, not in fists but ready to move. The leader looked more closely at Marcus. He noticed the short haircut, the way Marcus stood, the calm in his eyes even when surrounded. "Wait," the leader said slowly. "Are you military?" "Yeah, I served," Marcus answered the leader's question. "Marines. 4 years. 2 tours overseas." Something changed in the air. The leader's face showed surprise, then a hint of respect. But it didn't last long. "Military or not, you're still not welcome here," the leader said, but his voice had less power now. Some of the other bikers shifted on their feet, looking less sure. A shorter biker with a red bandana around his head spoke up. Marines, huh? My cousin was in the Marines. Tough guys. He seemed to be thinking about it. Maybe we should. Shut up, Tiny, the leader snapped. Don't go soft on me. Marcus saw the split in the group. Some of the bikers were having second thoughts about fighting him. But the leader and a few others still wanted trouble. This was getting complicated. Look, Marcus said, I respect that this is your regular spot. But it's a public place. There's no need for this to get ugly. The leader's face turned red with anger. You telling me what to do now? In front of my own crew. Marcus knew he had made a mistake. The leader couldn't back down now without losing face in front of his friends. Pride was about to make things worse. The leader pointed at Marcus. Get him. 3 bikers moved at once. They came at Marcus from different sides. They thought numbers would overwhelm him. They were wrong. Marcus had been in real combat. He had fought for his life against trained enemies. These men, tough as they were on the streets, had never faced someone like him. As the first biker reached for him, Marcus stepped inside the man's reach. He used a simple Jiu Jitsu move, grabbing the man's wrist and turning his own force against him. The biker found himself suddenly off balance. At the same time, Marcus dropped low, avoiding a punch from the second attacker. With a sweep of his leg, he knocked the man's feet out from under him. The biker fell hard on the pavement. The third man hesitated, seeing his friends taken down so easily. This gave Marcus time to move to a better position, his back no longer to the wall. Stop, Marcus said firmly. I don't want to hurt anyone. The first 2 bikers were getting back to their feet, looking shocked and angry. They hadn't expected this kind of skill. The leader was staring at Marcus with new eyes. Who the hell are you? He demanded. Before Marcus could answer, a voice called out from the diner door. Everything okay out here? It was the waitress. She stood in the doorway, holding a phone. I called the cops. They're on their way. The bikers looked at each other. Fighting was one thing. Dealing with police was another. You shouldn't have done that, Betty, the leader said to the waitress. This isn't your business. It is my business when you scare away my customers. Frank, she answered. She wasn't backing down. Frank, the leader, turned back to Marcus. This isn't over. We'll see you around campus. Marcus stood his ground. I hope not like this. The sound of sirens came from down the road. The police were coming fast. Let's go, Frank ordered his crew. This place isn't worth the trouble tonight. The bikers moved toward their motorcycles. As they passed Marcus, they gave him hard looks. The one called Dex, whom Marcus had first taken down, stopped close to him. Nice moves, he said quietly. Where'd you learn to fight like that? Marine Corps, then kept training after, Marcus answered. Dex nodded. Black belt. Yes. Dex looked at him with new respect. Frank doesn't like to be shown up. Watch your back. He said this not as a threat, but as a warning. The bikers mounted their motorcycles and started the engines. The loud roar filled the night air as they pulled out of the parking lot, just as the first police car turned in. 2 officers got out, looking around the scene. They saw Marcus standing there, and the bikers leaving. What's going on here? The older officer asked. Marcus had to decide what to say. He could tell the truth and make more enemies, or he could let it go. He thought about Dex's warning. This wasn't over. Just a misunderstanding, Marcus said finally. Nothing serious. The officer looked at him closely. You sure about that? Betty sounded pretty worried on the phone. Marcus nodded. Yes, sir. Everything's fine now. The younger officer watched the bikers disappear down the road. Those guys giving you trouble? Marcus thought carefully before answering. Those guys can be trouble sometimes, Marcus finally told the young officer. But I think they'll leave me alone now. The officer didn't look convinced. The Hell's Skulls don't usually back down so easy, especially Frank and his core group. Hell's Skulls? Marcus asked. Is that their club name? Yeah, The older officer said. They've been causing problems around town for about 2 years now. Nothing too serious yet, but they're heading that way. Marcus nodded, taking in this information. Now he had a name for the group. The Hell Skulls. It matched the skull logo on their leather vests. Come on inside. Betty, the waitress, called from the door. Coffee's on the house after all that. The officers followed Marcus into the diner. It was almost empty now. The few customers who had been there during the confrontation had left when things got tense. You handled yourself pretty well up there, the older officer said as they sat at the counter. His name tag read Wilson. Most people freeze up when faced with those guys. Marcus shrugged. I've been in worse situations. Officer Wilson studied him for a moment. Military. Marines. 4 years. The officer nodded with respect. Thought so. My brother was Army. 2 tours in Afghanistan. Betty placed steaming cups of coffee in front of them. Those bikers are getting worse, she said. Used to be they just came in, made noise, and left a bad tip. Now they're scaring people away. We're keeping an eye on them, the younger officer said. His name tag read Ramirez. But we can't do much until they break laws. They threatened me, Marcus pointed out. Isn't that breaking a law? Officer Wilson sighed. It is, but without witnesses willing to make statements, it's hard to make charges stick. Marcus understood. People were afraid of the Hell Skulls. Nobody wanted to be the one to speak against them. So they just get away with it. Marcus asked, feeling his anger rise. They can threaten people because of their skin color. And nothing happens. The 2 officers looked uncomfortable. They knew he was right, but the situation was complicated. We do what we can, Officer Ramirez said. But we're short-staffed, and the Hell Skulls are careful. They know how far they can push before crossing lines that would get them arrested. Marcus drank his coffee in silence, thinking about what had happened. He didn't want trouble. He had worked too hard to get into college. His future was bright. Getting involved in a fight with a biker gang could ruin everything. Just be careful, Officer Wilson said as they finished their coffee. If you see them again, walk the other way. Call us if you need to. The officers left after taking some notes about the incident. Marcus stayed at the counter, still thinking. You're in college, right? Betty asked as she refilled his cup. I've seen you in here before, studying late. Yes, Marcus answered. Mechanical engineering at State. I'm in my 2nd year. Betty smiled. My son wants to study engineering too. He's still in high school, but he's good with math. They talked for a while about college and future plans. It helped Marcus calm down. By the time he left the diner, it was almost 2 a.m. The parking lot was quiet now. Marcus walked to his car, feeling tired but still alert. The confrontation had pumped his body full of adrenaline, and it was only now starting to wear off. As he reached his car, he noticed something was wrong. The air felt out of the tires. All 4 of them were flat. Damn it, Marcus muttered. He kneeled down to check. It wasn't just flat tires. Someone had cut them with a knife. The Hell Skulls had left him a message. He stood up and looked around the dark parking lot. They were gone, but their threat remained. This wasn't over. Marcus pulled out his phone and called for a tow truck. It would cost money he didn't have to spare, but he had no choice. As he waited, he thought about what to do next. He could report this to the police, but what would that accomplish? He could try to avoid the bikers, but in a small town like this, that might not be possible. Or he could stand his ground, but that might lead to more trouble. The parking lot lights cast long shadows as Marcus leaned against his damaged car. This was supposed to be a simple coffee break after studying. Now it had turned into something much more complicated and dangerous. The sound of the tow truck in the distance broke through his thoughts. Marcus straightened up and prepared to deal with this new problem. One thing was clear. The Hell Skulls weren't going to leave him alone. The next morning, Marcus woke up feeling tired. The tow truck had taken him and his car home at 3 a.m. He had only slept for 4 hours before his alarm went off. Today was important. He had a big test in his engineering class. As he got ready for school, Marcus thought about the hell skulls. The slashed tires had cost him $600 to replace. That was money he had saved for books and food. Now it was gone. I should report them, he said to himself as he made a quick breakfast. But he knew it wouldn't help much. The police already knew about the bikers. Without proof, they couldn't do anything. Marcus caught the bus to campus. His car wouldn't be fixed until tomorrow. As he rode, he looked out the window at the small town. It had seemed so peaceful when he first moved here. Now he saw it differently. The morning passed quickly. Marcus took his test and felt good about it. Engineering came naturally to him. After class, he went to the campus coffee shop to study. That's when he saw her. A young woman was sitting at a table, looking worried. She kept checking her phone and looking at the door. Marcus recognized her from his math class. Her name was Tanya. Just then, the coffee shop door opened. 3 men walked in wearing leather vests with skull logos. They weren't the same men from last night, but they were clearly part of the Hell Skulls. Tanya's face went pale when she saw them. She quickly looked down at her books, trying to seem invisible. The bikers spotted her and smiled. They walked toward her table. Marcus watched, feeling his body tense up. He remembered what the police had said. Don't get involved. Walk away. But he couldn't just sit there. Hey, Tanya, one of the bikers said, sitting down at her table without asking. Jim says you've been avoiding his calls. Tanya kept her eyes down. I told him I don't want to see him anymore. The biker laughed. Jim doesn't take no for an answer. You know that. Marcus could see Tanya was scared. The other students in the coffee shop were pretending not to notice what was happening. No one wanted trouble. Marcus stood up. He knew he should walk away. This wasn't his problem. But something inside him wouldn't let him. He walked over to Tanya's table. Everything okay here? He asked her, ignoring the bikers. Tanya looked up, surprised. The bikers turned to stare at Marcus. Mind your own business, one of them said. He was big, with a shaved head and tattoos on his neck. Marcus kept his eyes on Tanya. Are you okay? He asked again. She hesitated, then shook her head slightly. No, she wasn't okay. She's fine, the biker with the shaved head said, standing up. He was taller than Marcus by several inches. She's just having a chat with some friends. Doesn't look that way to me, Marcus said calmly. Tanya, do you want to come sit at my table? The 3 bikers were all standing now. The coffee shop went quiet. Everyone was watching. You're that guy from last night, one of the bikers said suddenly. Frank told us about you, the Marine. So they knew who he was. Word had spread through the Hell Skulls. I don't want any trouble, Marcus said. I just think Tanya should be allowed to decide who she talks to. The biker with the shaved head stepped closer to Marcus. Do you know who you're messing with? Jim is Frank's brother. This girl belongs to him. Marcus felt anger rise inside him. She doesn't belong to anyone, he said, his voice still calm but firm. The tension in the air was thick. Students began to leave the coffee shop, not wanting to be there if a fight broke out. Tanya stood up quickly and grabbed her books. I have to get to class, she said, her voice shaking. Sit down, the biker ordered her. His hand moved to grab her arm. Marcus reacted instinctively. His hand shot out and caught the biker's wrist before he could touch Tanya. Don't, Marcus said simply. For a moment, nobody moved. The biker tried to pull his arm away, but Marcus held it firmly. They stared at each other, neither willing to back down. Then a voice called from the door of the coffee shop. What's going on here? It was campus security. Someone had called them. The officer was an older man with gray hair and a serious face. Nothing, the biker said, pulling his arm freed from Marcus's grip. Just talking. The security officer looked at Tanya. Miss, are you okay? She nodded quickly, But her eyes told a different story. "We're leaving anyway," the biker with the shaved head said. As the three bikers walked toward the door, he stopped next to Marcus. "This isn't over," he whispered. "Not by a long shot." After the bikers left the coffee shop, the security officer asked Marcus and Tanya to stay. "Those hell skulls are becoming a real problem on campus," the officer said. His name tag read Officer Davis. "This is the third time this week they've shown up here." Tanya looked down at her hands. They were shaking a little. "Do you want to file a report?" Officer Davis asked her. She shook her head quickly. "No, that would just make things worse." Marcus understood her fear. The Hell's Skulls had power in this small town. People were afraid to stand against them. "What about you?" Officer Davis asked Marcus. "I heard about what happened at Joe's Diner last night." News traveled fast in small towns. "I'm fine," Marcus said, "but they slashed my tires after." The officer frowned. "Did you report it?" "No proof it was them," Marcus answered. When Officer Davis left, Tanya turned to Marcus. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Most people just look away when they show up." "Who's Jim?" Marcus asked. Tanya's face darkened. "Frank's younger brother. I dated him for 2 months last year. Big mistake. When I tried to break up, he wouldn't accept it. He keeps sending his friends to talk to me." Marcus nodded. He understood now. This wasn't just about him anymore. The Hell's Skulls were bullying others too. "We should go," Marcus said, looking at the time. "Classes will start soon." They walked together across campus. Tanya studied business management. She was smart and worked hard, like Marcus. They talked about their classes and found they had a lot in common. "Why does no one stand up to these guys?" Marcus asked as they walked. Tanya sighed. "They have connections. Jim and Frank's uncle is a lawyer in town. Their cousin works at the police station. And people are scared." Marcus thought about this. The Hell's Skulls had created a wall of fear around themselves. It protected them. As they reached Tanya's building, she stopped. "Be careful, Marcus. They won't forget what happened. They never do." Marcus watched her go into her class, thinking about her warning. He had made enemies of the Hell's Skulls twice now. First at the diner, now at the coffee shop. This wouldn't end easily. That afternoon, Marcus went to the campus gym. He needed to clear his mind. Physical training always helped him think better. He changed into workout clothes and headed to the mat area. As he started his warm-up exercises, the gym door opened. 3 men walked in. Marcus recognized one immediately, Dex from the diner. With him were 2 other Hell's Skulls he hadn't seen before. The gym went quiet. People stopped their workouts, watching. Some quickly left, not wanting to be there for whatever was about to happen. Dex saw Marcus and walked straight toward him. Marcus stood up, ready for anything. He noticed Dex wasn't wearing his leather vest today, just a plain black t-shirt. The other 2 bikers stayed by the door. "Didn't expect to find you here," Dex said when he reached Marcus. "Just working out," Marcus replied, keeping his voice neutral. Dex looked around the nearly empty gym. "People sure clear out fast when we show up." Marcus didn't respond. He was watching Dex's hands, his stance, looking for signs of attack. "Frank's pretty mad about last night," Dex said. "And now I hear you got in between Jim's girl and our boys this morning." "She's not Jim's girl," Marcus said. "She made that clear." Dex shrugged. "Jim sees it differently." He looked Marcus up and down. "You know, most people would be running scared by now. But not you." "I faced scarier things than angry bikers," Marcus said simply. This made Dex smile slightly. "Yeah, I bet you have. Marines, right? Where did you serve?" Marcus was surprised by the question. "Afghanistan. 2 tours. You?" "Army. 1 tour in Iraq," Dex answered. "Got out in 2018. This was unexpected. Marcus hadn't thought of the Hell's Skulls as veterans. "Most of our club are vets," Dex said, as if reading Marcus's mind. Frank, me, about half the others, came home, couldn't fit in, found each other. Marcus nodded slowly. He understood that feeling. Coming back from war and finding civilian life strange and uncomfortable. So why all this? Marcus asked. The threats, the intimidation. Dex's face hardened. The world didn't want us back, Marcus. So we made our own world, our own rules. One of the bikers by the door called out, Dex, we don't have time for chat. You know why we're here. Dex turned to look at the bikers by the door, then back to Marcus. His face changed. The moment of connection was gone. Frank wants to see you, Dex said in a harder voice. Tonight. At the old mill. The old mill was an abandoned building at the edge of town. Once it had made flour. Now it was just a broken-down place where people went to drink and do drugs. Why would I go there? Marcus asked. To settle this, Dex answered. Frank says you can come fight him one-on-one. Fair fight. If you win, the Hell's Skulls leave you alone for good. Marcus studied Dex's face, looking for lies. And if I don't show up? Then this gets worse, Dex said simply. For you and for that girl. Marcus felt anger rise in him. Leave Tanya out of this. Dex shrugged. Not my call. But if you show up tonight, maybe Frank will agree to leave her alone too. The few people still in the gym were pretending not to listen, but Marcus knew they heard everything. Word would spread fast. 8 o'clock, Dex said. Come alone. As Dex turned to leave, Marcus spoke up. You know this isn't right, Dex. We both served. This isn't what we fought for. Dex stopped but didn't turn around. His shoulders tensed. For a moment, he seemed to be thinking about Marcus's words. Then he kept walking. The three bikers left the gym without another word. Marcus stood there, thinking. This was a trap. It had to be. Frank wouldn't fight fair. But if Marcus didn't go, things would get worse. He finished his workout, but his mind was elsewhere. As he left the gym, he saw Tanya waiting outside. She looked worried. I heard what happened, she said. People are talking about it all over campus. Marcus wasn't surprised. News travels fast. You can't go to the old mill, Tanya said, her voice urgent. It's a trap. They'll hurt you, or worse. I know, Marcus said. But if I don't go, they'll keep coming. And they'll go after you too. Tanya shook her head. This is my fault. If I hadn't dated Jim. No, Marcus cut her off. Don't blame yourself for their actions. They choose to be this way. They walked together across campus. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky orange and purple. We should call the police, Tanya suggested. And tell them what? That I'm going to a fight that might be a trap. They'd just arrest me too. Tanya was quiet for a moment. Then I'm coming with you. Marcus stopped walking. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. I can stay in the car, she argued. If something happens, I can call for help. Marcus thought about it. Having someone know where he was made sense. If things went bad, at least someone could call the police. Okay, he finally agreed. But you stay in the car, and you park far away from the mill. If you see anything bad happening, you don't wait. You call the police and leave. Tanya nodded, relieved that he wasn't going alone. They made a plan to meet at 7:30. Tanya would drive since Marcus's car was still being fixed. As they parted ways, Marcus felt a strange calm settle over him. He had been in dangerous situations before, in war. He knew how to handle himself. Back at his apartment, Marcus changed into clothes he could move easily in. Dark jeans and a t-shirt. Nothing fancy. He didn't bring any weapons. He never carried them. Not since leaving the Marines. Instead, he spent 30 minutes in quiet meditation. His Jiu Jitsu teacher had taught him this. Clear the mind before conflict. Focus on breathing. Find your center. At 7:25, he heard a car horn outside. Tanya was early. Marcus took one last deep breath and stood up. As he walked to the door, his phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. Marine, don't come to the mill. Not safe. Frank has guns. D. The message was from Dex. He was warning Marcus. Outside, Tanya honked again. Marcus had to decide quickly. Was Dex telling the truth, or was this another trick to make him look like a coward? Marcus looked at the message again. Then he went outside to meet Tanya. Change of plans, he told her as he got into her car. We're not going to the old mill. What do you mean we're not going? Tanya asked, confused. I thought you said we had to. Marcus showed her the text message from Dex. It's a trap. Frank has guns. Tanya's face went pale. Oh my God. They were going to kill you. Marcus nodded. Probably. Or at least hurt me badly. So what do we do now? Tanya asked. If you don't show up, they'll come after both of us. Marcus thought for a moment. We need to change the game. They're expecting me to either walk into their trap or run and hide. What's the third option? Tanya asked. We bring the fight to them, but on our terms, Marcus said, and we get help. He took out his phone and made a call. Officer Wilson, this is Marcus Johnson from the diner the other night. I need your help. Marcus explained the situation to the police officer. The challenge, the threat, and the warning from Dex. Officer Wilson listened carefully. I can't officially do anything without evidence, Officer Wilson said when Marcus finished. But unofficially, where are you right now? In Tanya's car, a few blocks from my apartment, Marcus answered. Stay there. I'll be in my own car, off duty. 10 minutes. While they waited, Marcus thought about Dex. The warning was a big risk for him. The Hell's Skulls would see it as betrayal. Why would Dex warn you? Tanya asked, thinking the same thing. Maybe he still remembers what it means to be a soldier, Marcus said. To have honor. Officer Wilson arrived in his personal truck, not a police car. He was wearing normal clothes, not his uniform. He parked next to them and got out. So Frank wants to fight you one-on-one, but he's planning an ambush, Officer Wilson summarized after they talked. Yes, Marcus said. At the old mill. Officer Wilson nodded. That place is perfect for an ambush. Lots of dark corners, multiple exits, no witnesses. So what do we do? Tanya asked. We change the location, Officer Wilson said. Somewhere public, with witnesses and cameras. Marcus thought about it. The parking lot at Joe's Diner. It's well lit, there are cameras, and Betty, the waitress, will call the police at the first sign of trouble. Officer Wilson smiled. Good choice. Now we need to get a message to Frank. I can do that, Tanya said. I still have Jim's number. I can text him. Tell him I saw Marcus heading to Joe's Diner instead of the mill. Will they believe it? Marcus asked. They might, Tanya said. I'll say I followed you because I was worried, and you went to the diner instead of the mill. Jim knows I've been avoiding him, so he won't think I'm working with you. The plan was set. Tanya sent the text to Jim. Then they drove to Joe's Diner. Officer Wilson followed in his truck. When they arrived, the diner was half full. Normal people having dinner, unaware of what might happen soon. Betty recognized Marcus as he walked in. Back for more trouble? She asked with a small smile. Maybe, Marcus admitted, but this time, we're ready for it. Marcus explained the situation to Betty. She immediately agreed to help. Those Hell's Skulls have been bad for business, she said. I'm tired of them scaring my customers. Betty called her cook and another waitress over. Soon, everyone in the diner knew what might happen. Some people left, not wanting to be involved, but others stayed. They were tired of being afraid. Officer Wilson parked his truck where he could see the entrance. He wasn't in uniform, but he had his badge and gun. Tanya sat in her car in the far corner of the parking lot, ready to call 911. Marcus sat at a window booth, drinking coffee and waiting. He felt calm. For the first time since this started, he wasn't alone. He had people on his side. "They're coming," Betty said suddenly, looking out the window. Marcus saw them too. Motorcycles, at least 10 of them, turning into the parking lot. The Hell Skulls had arrived, and they looked angry. Frank led the group. He parked his motorcycle and got off, looking at the diner. Through the window, his eyes met Marcus's. Frank's face showed surprise, then anger. He hadn't expected Marcus to be here. The trap at the old mill had failed. "Here we go," Marcus said quietly, standing up. It was time to end this. Marcus walked out of the diner and into the parking lot. He stood calmly under the bright lights, facing Frank and the Hell Skulls. People watched from inside the diner. Cars slowed down on the road to see what was happening. Frank got off his motorcycle and walked toward Marcus. 10 other bikers followed him. They spread out in a half circle, trying to surround Marcus. "You didn't show at the mill," Frank said, his voice angry. "We had a deal." "No," Marcus replied calmly. "You had a trap. With guns." Frank's eyes narrowed. "Who told you that?" Marcus didn't answer. He wouldn't put Dex in danger. "Doesn't matter," Frank said after a moment. "You're here now. And so are we." Marcus noticed some of the bikers had their hands inside their jackets, probably holding weapons. This was still dangerous, even with witnesses. "Let's end this, Frank," Marcus said. "You and me. No weapons. No tricks." Frank laughed. "Why would I agree to that? I have the advantage here." "Look around," Marcus said. Frank did. For the first time, he noticed Officer Wilson watching from his truck. He saw people filming with their phones from the diner windows. He realized there were security cameras on the building. "You're being recorded," Marcus said. "Everything that happens here will be seen by everyone. The police, the internet, everyone." Frank's face showed doubt for the first time. He hadn't expected this. "Walk away," Marcus continued. "Take your club and go. Leave me alone. Leave Tanya alone. Find somewhere else to be the big man." Some of the bikers looked at each other. They hadn't signed up for this kind of public showdown. Frank sensed his control slipping. "You think you're so smart," he growled. "Coming here where you have witnesses." "I think I'm tired of bullies," Marcus replied. "And I'm not the only one." As if on cue, the door of the diner opened. Betty walked out, followed by the cook with his big arms crossed. 3 truck drivers who had been eating inside came out too. They stood behind Marcus. More people came out of other stores nearby. They had heard about the confrontation. They were tired of being afraid of the Hell Skulls. "What is this?" Frank asked, looking around at the growing crowd. "Community," Marcus said simply. Frank looked at his fellow bikers. Some were backing up toward their motorcycles. They had expected an easy fight against one man, not a public standoff against the whole town. Suddenly, police sirens sounded in the distance. Someone had called 911. "This is your last chance, Frank," Marcus said. "Leave now. Leave everyone alone. Or stay and deal with the police. Your choice." Frank's face twisted with anger and frustration. He had lost control of the situation. His trap had failed. His intimidation wasn't working. "This isn't over," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Yes, it is," came a voice from behind the bikers. Everyone turned to see Dex walking forward. He had been at the back of the group, quiet until now. "What did you say?" Frank asked, his voice dangerous. "I said it's over, Frank," Dex repeated, louder this time. "We're done with this. It's gone too far." Other bikers nodded. One by one, they moved to stand near Dex. Frank looked around in disbelief. "You're taking his side. Against your own club." "We started this club to have somewhere to belong," Dex said, "not to become the thing we fought against overseas." The police cars were getting closer. Frank could see he was losing. With a final angry look at Marcus, he walked back to his motorcycle. "Let's go," he ordered the remaining loyal bikers. Only 3 followed him. As they rode away, Dex approached Marcus. "Sorry about all this," he said. "It went too far." Marcus nodded. "What will you do now?" Dex looked at the remaining bikers who had stayed with him. "Start over. Make the club what it should have been. A place for vets to find peace, not make trouble." When the police arrived, Officer Wilson explained what had happened. There was no fight to break up, no arrests to make, just a community that had finally stood up for itself. In the weeks that followed, things changed in the small town. The Hell's Skulls split in two. Frank and his few loyal followers left town after too many complaints to the police. Dex and the others renamed their club the Veterans. They started doing community service and helping other vets adjust to civilian life. Marcus and Tanya became good friends. She no longer feared seeing Jim around campus. Marcus's car got fixed, and no one slashed his tires again. At Joe's diner, Betty put up a picture of the night everyone stood together. People sometimes asked Marcus about it when he came in to study. "It wasn't just me," he always said. "It was all of us together." In the end, it wasn't Marcus's Marine training or his black belt that had really made the difference. It was his courage to stand up, his refusal to be intimidated, and his ability to inspire others to do the same. Sometimes the biggest fights are won without throwing a single punch.